BIOS stands for Basic Input-Output System. It is software stored on a small memory chip on the motherboard. The BIOS acts as an intermediary between the computer's hardware and the operating system. Think of BIOS as the conductor of an orchestra. It makes sure all the different parts of your computer work together harmoniously. When you press the power button, BIOS is the first program that runs. BIOS initializes and tests the hardware components of a computer. This process is known as post-power on self-test. You might have seen this test happening on your computer screen when you first turn it on. After the post, BIOS locates and loads the operating system into the computer's RAM. Without BIOS, your computer wouldn't know how to start or what to do. BIOS performs several crucial functions. It identifies and initializes hardware components. This includes the hard drive, CD/DVD drive, keyboard, mouse, and other peripherals. Imagine BIOS as a meticulous organizer. It catalogs all the hardware in your computer. BIOS also enables communication between the operating system and the hardware. It acts as a translator, converting software instructions into commands the hardware understands. BIOS also provides a set of low-level routines. The operating system uses these routines to interact with the hardware. Finally, BIOS offers a user interface. This allows users to configure certain hardware settings. This interface is what we often refer to as the BIOS setup or CMOS setup. The boot process is how your computer starts up. BIOS plays a vital role in this process. First, the BIOS performs the post. It checks if all hardware components are working correctly. Then BIOS searches for a bootable device. This could be a hard drive, a USB drive, or a CD/DVD-ROM. Once it finds a bootable device, BIOS loads the bootloader. The bootloader is a small program that starts the operating system. The bootloader then loads the operating system into RAM. Finally, control is transferred from BIOS to the operating system. Your computer is now ready to use. UEFI stands for Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. It is a modern replacement for the legacy BIOS. UEFI offers several advantages over BIOS. One of the main advantages is faster boot times. UEFI is designed to be more efficient, resulting in a quicker startup process. UEFI also supports larger hard drives. This is because it uses the GPT partitioning scheme, which can handle drives larger than 2 terabytes. BIOS, on the other hand, uses the older MBR partitioning scheme, limiting drive size. UEFI also offers enhanced security features. It includes Secure Boot, which prevents malware from loading during the boot process. Section 5. Accessing BIOS settings, a user-friendly guide. Accessing the BIOS settings is usually a straightforward process. As the computer starts up, you'll see a message on the screen. It will say something like press Del to enter setup or press F2 for BIOS settings. The exact key varies depending on the motherboard manufacturer. Once you press the correct key, you'll enter the BIOS setup utility. This utility is usually a text-based interface. You navigate it using the arrow keys, enter key, and other specific keys. The layout and options within the BIOS settings may vary depending on the motherboard. However, the basic functionalities remain similar. Section 6. Navigating BIOS settings. Common configurations. The BIOS settings allow users to configure various hardware settings. One common setting is the boot order. This setting determines the order in which the computer searches for bootable devices. For example, you can set it to boot from the CD/DVD drive first if you're installing an operating system. Another common setting is the system clock and date. Users can adjust these settings to ensure accuracy. Users can also enable or disable hardware components. For instance, you can disable the onboard sound card if you're using a dedicated sound card. It's important to note that making incorrect changes to the BIOS settings can potentially cause problems. Always be cautious and consult the motherboard manual if unsure. Section 7. Real-world examples, BIOS in action. Let's illustrate the importance of BIOS with a few real-world examples. Imagine you bought a new hard drive for your computer. Before you can install the operating system, you need to configure the BIOS to boot from the new hard drive. You would go into the BIOS settings and adjust the boot order to prioritize the new hard drive. Another example is when you want to overclock your CPU to improve performance. You can make changes to the CPU's clock speed and voltage in the BIOS settings. This can lead to increased processing power, but it's important to do it carefully. These examples highlight how BIOS provides users with essential controls over their computer's hardware. Section 8, BIOS and System Performance, the crucial link. BIOS plays a crucial role in a computer's overall performance. A well-configured BIOS ensures that all hardware components are correctly initialized and operating at their optimal settings. This leads to faster boot times, smoother system operation, and improved stability. Conversely, an outdated or misconfigured BIOS can result in various issues. These issues include slow boot times, system instability, and even hardware conflicts. It's important to keep your BIOS updated to the latest version. This ensures compatibility with new hardware and fixes known issues. Section 9, Conclusion, BIOS, the unsung hero of computing. While often overlooked, BIOS is an essential component of any computer system. It acts as the bridge between the software and hardware, ensuring a smooth and efficient computing experience. From the moment you press the power button to the time your operating system takes over, BIOS works tirelessly behind the scenes. Understanding the basics of BIOS can empower users to troubleshoot problems. They can also optimize their systems and make informed decisions about their computer hardware. So the next time you boot up your computer, take a moment to appreciate the role of BIOS, the unsung hero of computing.